Thank you for joining us for this episode of Inside Town Hall. I'm your host, Madeline Shields. We have a lot to discuss on this episode, everything from snow removal to fun in the snow. But first, we're going to meet our newly elected city councilor representing the southeastern part of Sioux Falls, David Barranco. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, congratulations on winning the election. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and what are some of the things that you're looking forward to in representing the Sioux Falls Southeast District?
Well, I'm a husband and I'm a father of two little boys. Obviously, we live in the Southeast, and I was excited to run for City Council. We had a variety of issues that we were excited about, and think that there are ways that we can help the city to grow in a sustainable way that's intelligent, that's positive, that benefits the whole community. I've got to say that since the election, one issue that has kind of risen to the top has been public safety. I won't say that has always been my primary concern, but as I look at the headlines, as I watch television, as I talk to my constituents, public safety concerns really have come to the forefront. So I know that we're going to be having a meeting later this week where we begin to instigate the process of working with the state, working with the legislature on some ways that we can help Sioux Falls citizens to be safe. And I'm talking about safe in a variety of ways, but one of the key focuses is going to be that I do think we've seen an increase in violent crime, and we cannot allow that to continue.
Do you think, citizens watch groups are going to help with that? Because that's always been at kind of the forefront of these discussions over the years. Yes,
I think that that's an element of the solution. And by the way, I don't think there's one solution. I think that this is a situation where we need an all hands on deck. Each group doing what they can do, whether that's helping the police to do a little bit better job. They do a great job, but they need more staff. I think that we need to empower citizens groups, neighborhood watches, that we're going to be putting forward some funding and some information for people to know what their rights are, to know what was available to them, so they can form these groups within the community and help the police and help the city and help each other be aware of dangers and try to use that network, use that collective intelligence of the city to help the problem become ameliorated, to become mitigated. We don't think that that can solve the problem, but every little piece, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, we have a big show today, and we will be hearing more about what some of the things are that we are working on in Sioux Falls, and it has a lot to do with snow removal and with fun activities that are going on in Sioux Falls. So that's our time for this segment. We will be back in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Dr. Swidzinski with Falls Community Health, here today to talk to you about hypothermia. Hypothermia is abnormally low body temperature caused by exposure to extremely cold temperatures. Warning signs include shivering, exhaustion, confusion, and slurred speech. If you think someone may have hypothermia, seek medical attention immediately. Bring the person into a warm location, remove wet clothing, and warm the person with dry clothing or an electric blanket. If you have any questions about hypothermia, contact your physician or Falls Community Health.
Welcome back to Inside Town Hall. They say there are two seasons in South Dakota, winter and road construction, and this month we are talking about snow removal and snow events, and with City Councilor David Barranco, and his first guest is Dustin Hanson, Street Operations Manager. Thank you for being here.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Let's talk a little bit about what can people expect heading into the winter months and as we go through early spring.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously during the kind of the early winter, sometimes we get these lighter snows. So a lot of times if we get, amounts that are less than 3 inches, typically we're not going to call snow alert. So that's where we actually plow the entire city. And we'll just basically stay on emergency routes and secondaries. And those emergency routes we want to keep open, obviously, for hospitals, keep that traffic moving, and we have over 840 miles of those emergency routes. And if we don't go into a snow alert, then we have another 400 secondary lane miles. So those could include some of the residential streets, some of the busier streets within Sioux Falls, around schools and things, more businesses, and so we'll clear those. And then as we get kind of more into winter, if we get some of that snow that builds up, then we have to, kind of find some more room to for that snow to be, and so a lot of times we'll have to go into snow pickup to where we're actually picking that snow off the streets.
Right, and we've already had one of those this year, a little bit.
We had one, yep, we've had one event, and we had just under 3 inches, so we didn't plow the entire city. We just did the emergency and secondary routes.
Sure. What is it that you would like people to know when we expect a snow event?
Yeah, so basically, obviously, you want to be prepared because we're going to be out there from the time it starts snowing to the time, obviously, it ends on those emergency routes. And when it ends on those emergency routes, we still may be there for 2 to 3 hours. So a lot of people expect, when they wake up, get ready to go to work, that the streets should be completely clear. Well, if it's still snowing, just like when you're shoveling your driveway or your sidewalk, you're still going to have snow coming down, and it's going to be covered. And so it's the same way with the streets. We have typically 2 to 3 trucks, snow plows that will go on the routes, but it could take them an hour to 2 hours to clear that route, to clear that snow route. So just be cautious, give yourself extra time. Obviously, if it takes you 15 minutes to get to work, well, maybe give yourself 30 minutes.
Okay. In terms of the city council, is there anything that you're working on with the street department and with snow removal? Anything new or anything that you've heard from with constituents?
Yeah, it's interesting that you asked me this question this week, because as he and I were discussing, my wife was actually struck this weekend, and my wife and children are absolutely fine, everybody's healthy, but it really drove home to me the need for the council and for the city to pay very close attention to this and support our services and figure out ways that we can do our job even a little bit better. I'm convinced that Sioux Falls does a terrific job of handling this issue, but I refuse to accept good enough is the enemy of great sometimes, and we need to do a better job of that. And I was really excited and interested. Last night we had a very thorough briefing, learning more about how traffic is run through the city. And of course there's a huge intersection, as we've just heard, between snow removal, cautious travel, and dealing with traffic situations. So that's an issue. That's one of my top 5 issues, is working on traffic. And I'm excited to learn more about that, and I'm setting up some individual meetings so I can get even more information and data, learn how I can help them and address, that is one of the things. You get emails, you get calls from your constituents, and they definitely have concerns about traffic and how we can do that better.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about the snow gates. That was huge news for many years. We don't hear a lot about it right now. How is that program working?
I think the program's working fairly well. We fully implemented those in 2015, so we're getting close to 10 years, 7 or 8 years. So we use those anytime that we do clear the entire city. And so I think we do a lot of education. The last couple years, we get quite a few complaints. You missed my driveway. Well, one of the things that we always tell the citizens that call in is that you're not going to see a clear driveway. So you're going to see a less amount of snow if we use those snow gates, but it's still going to dump snow on your driveway. And it also depends on where you live on that street, because if you're the first house, you may not have much, but if you're the 10th, 11th house, those motor graders are continuing to carry that snow, and they've got to put it somewhere. So as our city grows and we put more townhomes in, our driveways get wider, we have less space to put that snow, and we have to put it somewhere. Just like last December when we got almost 12 inches of snow, there was quite a bit of snow to kind of dump that. But so when we get into these events, you're still going to see snow at the end of your driveway, and logistically we can't line it up to where we after you clear your driveway, we're going to come and clear that little bit of snow out of there. It's just absolutely not possible. We have over 90,000 driveways and approaches that we have to snow gate across the city, and we average typically less than 1% actually missed or complaints that we get in.
How do you educate people on that fact? I know it's, of course, everybody watches Inside Town Hall, right? so they should have heard that. However, how do you let people know? Is it just when people call in and then you explain to them that situation, or is there something that goes out?
Yeah, so we do interviews with the local media, and we always make it, where we want to educate people on those snow gates. But we use social media quite a bit. And like I said, one of the things that we've been doing the last couple of years is actually going out and taking a video during that event to show how much snow potentially could be at the end of your driveway. Because if it's 4 inches, there's not going to be much there. But if we get 12 inches, there potentially could be a lot. So those videos, so pay attention to Facebook, Twitter, whatever social media you cover, and we try to push those videos out there as much as we can.
Okay, let's talk about emergency routes. Those are always the first ones to be plowed. What do people need to know, and what do you see that you want people to know? Yeah, so one of our biggest issue is parking on those emergency routes. When we get 2 inches of snow, we do not want any parking on those emergency routes because we want to get those cleared as quick as possible. We're going to be on those emergency routes basically from the time we start getting precipitation. That precipitation could be obviously snow, could be freezing drizzle, could be rain, turning into ice. And so we want our teams to be able to clear those as quickly as possible. And they'll typically take anywhere from 1.5 hours to 2 hours to completely clear those emergency routes, and we typically have 40 to 50 operators on those routes. But give our operators the space and the time to clear those streets. Okay. And how there are ways people can stay informed about the snow alerts. Can you talk to us a little bit about those programs that you have going on? Yeah. The texting and the apps.
Yeah, absolutely. You can always go on to siouxfalls.org/snow to see it, and you can actually, we've developed over the last couple of years, you can actually track our progress on there. And then we also have the texting. So if you text 888-777, you'll get a notification of the snow alert. But the last couple of years, we've actually added zones 1, zone 2, and zone 3. So when we move into those zones, you'll get an additional text saying, oh, the city is now moving into downtown to clear the streets or to pick up snow. So there's additional information you can have there, and that was all part of obviously educating the public. But our biggest thing is getting cars off the streets so our plows can plow that, from curb to curb.
Mm-hmm. And I can just say, I think those are great features. I think that citizens and residents, people who visit our city or work here, they love to have the ability, if they want to track that removal so that they can know in real time, all right, I'm going to be able to make it, or I really maybe need to have another cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. And getting those texts, this is a terrific idea. And it really represents what you and I have discussed about, yeah, we're doing a good job. We know how to do our job. We care about the people. We want to serve them. But we can also increase our customer service. We can do a little bit better. And one of the great ways to do that in the digital age that we live in is by providing people more information and rapid information. Not, well, here's a website and this is what we do. Well, that's helpful. But what they want to know is what's happening right now, what's happening today. And it's terrific that you're doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things we've added over the last couple of years is automatic vehicle locators. So each of our motor graders, snowplows actually has a tracker within that to where we can find that plow anywhere in the city, and it's been a great resource for us.
Absolutely, I love that stuff.
Sure. Why is that so important to know where those plows are at?
So for one thing, it's obviously we want to keep track of the progress. Rather than having the operator radio back into the supervisor and say, I've completed this stretch of my route, we can already see that. So we can have the system's already set up to know, okay, this plow has made 2 passes, it's clear. So it automatically will update the map within the tracker. That tool is also very good for like preventative maintenance on the machines. If there's an accident, we can actually recreate those accidents. So there's a lot of information that we can pull from those automatic vehicle locators.
You talked about, traffic as one of your main concerns. Can we talk about that when we're talking about the zones as well? Do you look at these zones and see that there's more traffic in these zones when you're plowing them, or when you anticipate to plow them?
Yeah, so Zone 1 is basically our downtown area where we're going to get a lot of traffic. Zone 2 is basically just right outside of Zone 1, and then Zone 3 is basically the rest of the city. So those Zones 1 and 2, the majority of the traffic are going to be in there, and that's the 2 that we'll focus on the most. In Zone 1, everything is an emergency route. So those streets will be cleared, basically within hours of the snow stopping. And then zone 2, we have to be very cautious of that, to where we have to go into certain streets at a certain time to allow people that may not have a place to park their car to switch streets, and then we can plow certain streets at a certain time, the other streets at the other time.
Let's talk about watching the weather. How do you know what you have to anticipate? Because sometimes we see the weather and, oh, it's going to come through, it's going to be horrible, and then it ends up being a big nothing burger.
You're right.
And so, and then other times it's right on. How do you anticipate that? How do you get everybody activated?
Well, I think it's a great question because, regardless of whether you live down in Florida in Hurricane Alley or up here where it's going to snow, we all want to have that information so that we can make intelligent preparations for what's coming. And so, kind of one of my interests, hobbies, is I love learning more about how that forecast works, how we're being able to use big data and now artificial intelligence to make more and more accurate forecasts based on, we've got, every year we have significantly more data, and if it's used properly, if it's plugged into the right models, it can help us make better forecasts. But I'm sure you know as well as anybody, we're not there yet, right? It is a little bit, there's chaos in that math, and it doesn't always come out exactly as we hope or as we think.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll ever get there where they can, predict exactly like they say 2 inches we're going to get it. One thing I would say is, don't watch Facebook and listen to those those weather forecasts. But we work with the National Weather Service quite a bit, and they're very good about giving us up-to-date information. During an event, typically we're on the phone with them every few hours getting updates. And they've got a system it's very well operated to where we can get know exactly if it's going to be a 1 to 2 inch snow event. But there's sometimes where they don't even know that some stuff that may not show up on the radar, and we're kind of getting to this where weather patterns are a little bit different these days. So sometimes it's an unknown, but for the most time they can pretty well predict it. One of the things that we've been looking at for years is actually a weather forecasting service besides National Weather Service, and so there's a lot of municipalities across the country, state agencies that actually pay for those, and that's one of the things that we're going to look at over the next year and potentially implement into our operations.
All right. Well, that's our time for this segment, but I want to remind you that you text Snow Alert to 888-777 to get updates on the snow plowing process, and then there's an app at 511 is the app, or sd511.org. We will be back in just a moment.
Don't be slippin'. Not your grade in high school geometry slippin'. More like icy road slippin'. We know winter weather can make driving conditions tough. That's why it's always important to be prepared. Keep an emergency kit in your vehicle. Check road reports for closings or hazardous conditions. Don't crowd the plow. And be aware of your surroundings in case of a breakdown, because you never know what's out there. Take this winter by the wheel. Stay safe, stay warm, and stay on the road. Minnehaha County Highway Department, celebrating 100 years of happy highways.
Welcome back to Inside Town Hall. Sioux Falls Park and Recreation is busy planning your winter activities, and joining us is David Barranco, our newly elected city councilor, and his guest is Jackie Nelson, Recreation Manager for Sioux Falls. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Let's talk about all of the fun stuff that you're planning for us this winter.
Yeah, we have a lot of great things happening this winter, throughout the entire month of December into January and February, with one of our big highlighted annual events, and that's Frosty Frolics. So it is our 35th anniversary of Frosty Frolics, and it will run January 6th through the 8th.
Great. So tell us a little bit about what is Frosty Frolics.
So Frosty Frolics is really a community event that happens throughout the entire city of Sioux Falls. So it could be ice fishing at Family Park, to running the 5K along the recreation trail, to maybe even snowshoeing out at the Arboretum. So lots of different winter activities and winter sports that you can do throughout the city.
Let's talk a little bit about how do we get people out? I want to hole up in the winter. I don't know about you, but I don't
right.
I want to eat my chili and watch Netflix. How do you get people to go out and do these activities and come up with all these different activities for folks?
We try to work very closely with the weathermen in Sioux Falls to make sure we have some good weather, but no, it's a lot of promotion, and it's a lot of just coming up with new creative ways and things that people maybe haven't heard about that will get them excited to want to come out. So just the promotion, the excitement within our own team, and then again the activities that might be new to help drive some of that interest.
Sure.
And I think one of the things that we've done well but can even do better is sometimes there's an information problem. There are folks who might want to take part in some of the activities that you've got planned if they knew about it. Yep. So it's on us as a city to say, hey, we're doing these great things. These are options that'll be great for families, great for you to enjoy, really take advantage of this season, and make sure that families know about those opportunities. So I know that your team has done, taken strides to be even more proactive and more interactive with residents, making sure they know about what's coming up. And I think that the whole city can even take that to another level. Now that it's become easier to communicate with people, whether that's through text, through social media, we have a lot of options, and we should be using all of them.
We do. We have quite a few options. In fact, social media is a big one today, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, the different social channels. But we are printing our guides again. And so that is something that we actually stopped printing for a few years, and the community spoke and said, we really want the guides. That's how we find out what you're doing across the city. So we are printing our activity guides. They are located, throughout the city in different, Midco Aquatic Center, the community centers, different locations. You can find the guides.
Are they mailed to people's homes as well?
We do not mail anymore. We just print and then keep them within our different locations. Libraries, for instance, you can pick one up at a library.
Sure. And that will tell all the different activities at all of the different locations that are going on throughout the winter.
Absolutely. Everything indoor and outdoor. So whether it's an outdoor recreation program such as Winter Wonderland or when the ice skating rinks open, to what aquatic classes and fitness classes are happening at the Midco Aquatic Center, all of that can be found in the guide. And the guides are quarterly as well. So there's a winter guide, and then we'll bring a new one out for spring, summer, and fall.
Nice. Well, and speaking of indoor stuff, I just wanted to give you some kudos. We went over to the Morningside Community Center, and they had an indoor winter event that was so well attended. Wonderful families from all over there on the southeast side near Harvey Dunn Elementary, and our children had a wonderful time playing, and your staff did a terrific job. It was a great event.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Well, let's talk a little bit about what some of the options are. The Nordic ski trails. Can you talk a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, so the ski trails throughout the city, are just really, if we have snow, for people just to go out and cross-country ski. Along with that, there's a lot of snowshoeing that goes alongside of that as well. So cross your fingers for snow, and then we do have the ski trails available. Great Bear is becoming a really popular place for the ski trails as well as snowshoeing.
Sure. And don't forget, the bike trails are always open.
Correct. Yeah, Recreation Trail spans throughout the entire city, over 30 miles, and open year-round, connected to many different playgrounds or dog parks, or even if you just want to walk or run the trail in and of itself, it's a great activity to be able to get outside.
How does that get plowed? Do they have, is it right away that the bike trail gets plowed? Or?
No, we maintain it to the best that we can, but a lot of it is just maintained through the sun itself. Okay. So, some of it is shaded, so if it's more of an icier, patch that we maybe need to take care of, we'll look at that. But honestly, the weather in and of itself with the sun usually does quite a the melting.
Okay, great. Well, I saw somebody out riding their bicycle right after we had the snow, and I thought, wow, they're enthusiastic. Yeah, and then of course we have the Midco Aquatic Center that is, fairly new, a couple of years. Talk about how that has really added to the winter activities.
Yeah, the Midco Aquatic Center is awesome. It's your warmth in the winter if you really want some warmth, but it's added not only winter activities for the youth in the recreational pool side, but also for adults as well. We offer a ton of different fitness classes, from boga to hydro riders to just water aerobics, to even just lap swimming. We do have quite a few community members that go in lap swim every morning. So it provides a lot of different options for all different age levels as well as families.
I can attest to the fact that it is incredibly popular,
Yes.
Year-round, of course, but particularly I think in the winter there is just so many of our residents, so many families, they're taking advantage of that resource. And I know that if we go in the Wayback Machine, there were some people that weren't confident that it would be embraced by the community, and thankfully that has been proven to be untrue, and it has been wonderfully embraced, and it's a great resource for Sioux Falls.
It is. In fact, we're seeing record attendance at the Midco Aquatic Center as well as record pass sales. So it's been a really good thing for this community.
Great.
Yes.
And the Jacobson Plaza at Falls Park,
Yes.
Talk about that. How exciting is that?
So exciting. Very excited. We are all very excited. So it'll be our first refrigerated ice rink in Sioux Falls. Being a refrigerated ice rink means we can ice skate a lot longer. So right now we're kind of waiting on the weather and waiting for it to get cold so we can really have that good quality ice. And we really don't ever know how long the ice will remain. With having refrigerated ice, we'll be able to open with Winter Wonderland, if not maybe a little sooner, and we'll be able to stay open, hopefully through St. Patrick's Day. So it's really going to bring just some added extra days for families to be able to ice skate outside during the winter. The Jacobson Ice Ribbon will be a partnership with Gary and Diane Jacobson, so private partnership, and it will be along Phillips Avenue, right along Falls Park West.
Sure.
And even for somebody like me, who I think my ice skating days are probably safely behind me.
Me too.
But I'm excited because when I see the wonderful plan, I envision my sons ice skating with friends from their class, with friends from their school, and friends from other parts of the city, all kind of united in this great healthy activity. Meanwhile, that looks like built into the plan might be a place that I could get a hot cocoa or something like that and sit there as a proud father watching the world go by. So that sounds like a wonderful day to me.
Absolutely. We'll even have some fun lights and music for you as well. And then there'll be an inclusive playground attached to that park as well. And hopefully in the future we'll have some other amenities added, such as a splash park and a dog park.
Nice. Now, do you ever need any volunteers with the Park and Rec Department?
We need volunteers all the time. Yeah, so volunteers are key to our operations, whether it be on the recreation side, helping with events such as the one David just mentioned a little bit ago that he went to at Morningside, to planting trees. We have tree planting day coming up in April around Arbor Day, so we need a ton of volunteers for that as well. So something we're consistently looking for throughout the year.
Well, I'd like to help with that too. There's nothing higher. Yeah. I mean, look, I am pro tree, and we need. That's a great thing for people to be doing. It's wonderful for the city. It's wonderful for the community. It's wonderful for our ecosphere. One of the greatest things that we can do is find ways to, when you want to plant the right tree in the right place. I get it, but just generally, I'm in. That's a great idea. I'm excited about that plan.
How do people get a hold of you if they want to volunteer?
So to volunteer, they can call our office, so 605-367-8222, or go to siouxfalls.org/parks and click on the volunteer tab, and all the information is there as well.
All right, well, great. Well, so great having both of you here, and that's our time for Inside Town Hall. We will see you next month.